You just finished building a small sealed subwoofer enclosure, and you're not happy with the performance. Can you add a port to your sealed subwoofer box? There's not a week that goes by where someone doesn't send me a direct message asking me this very question. I'm going to answer that question in this video along with several other common questions about ported subwoofer boxes. Absolutely, you can grab a hole saw and some PVC pipe and stick a pipe in your subwoofer box and see what happens. But just because you can doesn't mean that you should. To show you what I mean, I'm going to head over to the port calculator on my website, DIYaudioguy.com. I'll give you a link to it down in the description. So hypothetically, you've placed a 10-inch subwoofer in a half cubic foot enclosure. We'll choose US units, inches, feet, that kind of thing. We'll pop in half a cubic feet and we'll pick a tuning frequency. Let's go with 36 hertz. We'll do one port. We'll do a simple round port because sometimes the easiest port is just a PVC pipe. Why don't we go with a 2-inch port? We hit calculate and that gives us a port that is 12 inches long with a total port area of 3.14 square inches. 3.14 square inches is not a lot. You will probably want a larger port opening so that you don't get any chuffing. So maybe we should try to go a little bit bigger and pop it up to a 3-inch pipe. And when we do that, we get a 27-inch long port. And here's what that looks like. Right here we have a typical small enclosure. The internal dimensions are 6 by 12 by 12, so it's a half a cubic foot. Over here's our 3-inch port. Let's see what it looks like. Well, it's not gonna fit. So a port that's got enough area to be an effective port is just not gonna fit inside the enclosure. That's because as the enclosure gets smaller, holding everything else constant, the port has to get longer. We'll compromise and go back down to that 2-inch port, hit calculate. Now we've got a shorter port. It might chuff, but maybe it'll fit in the box, 11.59 inches. And that would be this port right here. And when you place that port inside the enclosure, we see this port is gonna have a hard time fitting. We're right about 2 inches away from a wall of the enclosure. You really want your port opening at least 1 port diameter away from the wall of the enclosure, so this might actually work. And of course, you can always put a bend in it. But you've got another problem, and that is you have to put the subwoofer in the enclosure. And depending on where you put your subwoofer cutout, your port tube is gonna interfere with the subwoofer. So it's theoretically possible to port your small subwoofer enclosure, but it's not going to be practical. If you find yourself in this situation, my recommendation is to rebuild your enclosure. Which is better, a round port or a rectangular slot port? You've heard that round ones are more efficient. This comes from fluid dynamics, where they model water or air flowing through a pipe. The issue here is a thing called hydraulic diameter. So the goal is to maximize the hydraulic diameter for a given cross section. These are some rectangles that all have an area of 42 square inches. And as those shapes go more rectangle and less square, we end up with a larger perimeter. The hydraulic diameter is a function of the ratio of the area to the wetted perimeter. That hydraulic diameter is used to calculate the Reynolds number. The Reynolds number determines how fast air can flow before the airflow goes from laminar to turbulent. So a 42-inch tall, 1-inch wide slot port will give you the port area that you need, but you get a really small hydraulic diameter. As that rectangle gets shorter and wider, the hydraulic diameter goes up. So as your rectangle becomes more of a square, your port gets more efficient. How efficient it needs to be in order to minimize chuffing depends on a bunch of other factors, such as the amount of power you're throwing at it, the cone area of the subwoofers. That's all a story for another day, because what I want to do now is compare that to a circle. So imagine a 6.5 by 6.5 inch square. That's going to give us just a hair more than our 42 square inches of cross-sectional area, and it's going to give us a hydraulic diameter of 6.5. So squares are going to outperform rectangles. Now let's take a look at circles. If you wanted to fit a circle into the same space as that square, the diameter of that circle would have to be 6.5. And the hydraulic diameter of that circle will also be 6.5. Here I've drawn it so you can see what I'm talking about. Right here on the screen, you've got a 6.5 inch by 6.5 inch square, and then you've got a 6.5 inch diameter circle sitting inside that square. These two shapes have the same hydraulic diameter, but this square is better than the circle because the square has more area. The mistake that people make is they think the turbulence is happening here in the corner. The turbulence is happening around the entire perimeter. That square's got a larger perimeter, so it's going to have more turbulence, but it also has more area. How big a difference is it? In this case, with a 6.5 by 6.5 square, the difference is 9. You're going to get 9 more square inches of port area and the same hydraulic diameter with a square. Now, I just told you that a square tube is better than a circular tube, and that runs contrary to conventional wisdom. Here's why. If you compare the perimeter to the area, a circle is going to have the smallest perimeter for a given area. The perimeter of a circle is going to be smaller than the perimeter of a square for the exact same area. As the air passes along the perimeter, that causes friction. That friction slows down the airflow. So why am I saying a square is better? With a subwoofer port, we're not modeling the flow of air through a pipe. We're modeling a mass of air pumping back and forth. I'm sure you've seen videos where people float a towel in their car. The towel doesn't blow out of the car because it's not a fan in the car. It's speakers and ports reverberating with air moving back and forth. With a subwoofer port, the goal is to have a large diameter so that that slug of air can move in and out of the tube. Plus, you have to find a way to get the port to physically fit inside the enclosure. That's why a square is better. For a given footprint, you can achieve the same Reynolds number and have a larger cross-section. A square will always have a 27% larger cross-sectional area than a circle. But almost every subwoofer box you see is going to use a rectangular slot port. If that's the least efficient port design, why does everybody use them? Because they're easy to build. The challenge here is that no one that I'm aware of has generated solid, reliable data to give us guidance as to how thin that port opening can be. But then there are the practical considerations, because it turns out that a tall, skinny slot port is just easier to build. They also tend to be cheaper because you've already bought the wood to build the rest of the box. So I usually prefer a slot port. Just try your best to avoid really tall, really skinny slot ports. Here's the next frequently asked question. I've seen this pop up on Facebook at least once a week. These two enclosures both have the same net volume of airspace, 4 cubic feet. They're both tuned to 36 Hertz and they're both designed for 2 subwoofers. The one on the right uses a massive 6-inch wide port and one big 4 cubic foot chamber for both speakers. The one on the left has 2 smaller 2 cubic foot enclosures. The port opening is the same 6 inches, but this distance back here is 3. People usually want to know one of 2 things. One, of course, which one's going to sound better or give you more output. And the other common question is, if I've got my box design and it's a single port design, can I just slide the port over into the middle? The answer to the first question, you probably can't tell a difference. I'm not aware of any evidence that one is better than the other. If you'd like for me to build these two and compare them side by side, let me know down in the comments. But one thing you got to keep in mind is these are 2 very different enclosures. The one on the right is a 4 cubic foot enclosure. The one on the left is actually 2 cubic foot enclosures. And you can see right here in this second port wall, the big single chamber box, that's a 12-inch long port wall. And the big double chamber box, that's a 12.5-inch long port wall. But it's more than just that, because the double chamber box is deeper at 23 inches than the single chamber box at 20.5 inches, which means this first port wall is also quite a bit longer. So the total port wall is longer in the box with the 2 smaller chambers. That's because as a box gets smaller, the port has to get longer, holding everything else constant to hit the same tuning frequency. So the double chamber box is going to have a larger gross volume and a longer port. So you can't just take existing plans for ones and move the port location to get the other one. In fact, this double chamber enclosure is the functional equivalent of this right here, which is 2 cubic foot enclosures tuned to the same 36 Hertz and completely separate. It's also the functional equivalent of this right here, which is the exact same enclosure but 3/4 of an inch wider, so there's room for a divider down the middle. All of these configurations on the screen are going to give you the same result because the math works out that it's just a bunch of different ways to connect 2 cubic foot boxes together. You can even put the ports on the outside. It will give you the exact same result. Okay, check this out. If you were to delete that center divider and shorten the enclosure by 3/4 of an inch, you would use the exact same port dimensions as if you had the divider. That's because when you add a second port, each port only tunes half of the enclosure. So if the net enclosure volume is 4 cubic feet like this one is right here, you would use the exact same port dimensions as if you had a 2 cubic foot box. And if you were to use 3 ports, each port only tunes 1/3 of the enclosure. That's a little fact that most people don't know. When I build boxes, I prefer to put multiple subwoofers in one really large chamber. 1, I can make the box a little bit smaller so it's easier to fit in the car. And 2, instead of having a pair of tall, skinny slot ports with a small hydraulic diameter, I can get one wide slot point with a large hydraulic diameter. If you find practical advice like that useful, a great way to say thank you and support the work I do here on this channel is to head over to Patreon and sign up today. So a big shout out to all of my patrons. The $10 patrons get their name in the video, and $25 and up patrons get a bonus shout out. So thank you very much to Jonathan Taylor, Joaquin, JD America, Timothy, and Bo. Head over to Patreon today, sign up for a whole year at once, and get you a discount on your membership. Check this out right here. On this enclosure, I use 2 2-inch round ports. A common misconception is that a pair of 2-inch round ports is going to give you the same area as a single 4-inch port. That is not the case. Let Let me show you. Here I've got two circles, a 4-inch diameter circle and a 2-inch diameter circle. If I move that 2-inch diameter circle into the 4-inch circle, obviously, yes, it's smaller, but how much smaller is it? Check this out. I can copy and paste this circle and also fit a second small circle inside of the larger circle. Going from a 4-inch down to a pair of 2 inches isn't going to give you the same port area. Here's the math showing how it works. If I've got a 4-inch diameter port, I'll have an area of 12.57 square inches. If I have a 2-inch diameter port, I'll have an area of 3.14. And the ratio of the 4-inch to the 2-inch is actually 4. So a 2-inch diameter port actually has a fourth of the area of a 4-inch diameter port. And that ratio is not going to change if we make the diameter of the ports larger. So if we had a 6-inch diameter port compared to a bunch of 3-inch diameter ports, again, the ratio doesn't change. Here in this cell, I'm just dividing these two areas, right? Kick it up to any number you want, kick it down to any number you want. That ratio's not going to change. So if you want to go from a big 8-inch round port to a bunch of 4-inch round ports, you'll need 4 of them to get the same area. That's really important, and here's why. Let's say hypothetically you've got a 4 cubic foot box tuned to 36 hertz, and you're going to use one big round 8-inch port. When you hit calculate, that one 8-inch port is going to be 20.25 inches long. It's going to give you 50 square inches of port area. But if we go back up here and we kick it up to 4-inch ports, and hit calculate, we have the same 50.25 inch port area, but now the port is 23.18 inches long. Those individual ports have to be longer. Sometimes multiple small ports are what you need to get the port to fit in the box. Sometimes you can fit one large port. Taking things full circle, no pun intended, right here is the formula for the hydraulic diameter. As luck would have it, 4 4-inch ports are going to give you the same area as one 8-inch port, but the 4 4-inch ports are going to have a hydraulic diameter of 4 inches. So you're going to get a bigger hydraulic diameter if you use one big port. I'm not sure how much that matters because you already know from earlier in the video that if you have 4 smaller ports, each of those ports are going to be tuning 1/4 of the area of the enclosure, which is why those ports are longer. Ultimately, the decision to go with one large port or multiple small ports boils down to fitting everything inside the box. Just make sure you maintain enough port area and be aware that those smaller ports are going to have to be longer in order to get the tuning frequency that you're shooting for. One thing you run into with slot ports is the effective length of the port is not the same as the length of the material used to make the port. So in this case right here, we've got a 17.75 inch piece and we have a 12.5 inch piece. If we add those two numbers together, the port's 29.75 inches long. This is the same box I was showing you before. It's 2 cubic feet tuned to 36 hertz. It's got a 13.5 tall by 3-inch wide slot port. And when you hit the calculate button, we need a port that's 35.3 inches long. Well, our port's not long enough. What's going on there? Well, here's what's going on. We have to count this piece right here. That's 3/4 inch. And we have to count this material thickness. That's 3/4 inch. There's another 1.5 inches, 31.25, so we're getting closer. Then what happens is right here in the corner. When you're measuring the effective length of your port, you're supposed to measure down the center line. So we've got to go over 1.5 inches to find that center line, and then up 1.5 inches to find that center line. So the effective length of the port is 1.5 inches this direction, and then another 1.5 inches that direction. As luck would have it, 1.5 inches is half of the width of our port. So every time you've got a 90-degree bend in your slot port enclosure, that bend is going to take up an extra length that's equal to the width of your port opening. So we've gained 3 more inches in this corner. Now we're at 34.25. We're getting closer. You get that distance right here. Whenever you have a slot port where the port wall shares a common wall with some other part of the enclosure, then the effective length of that port is just a hair longer than the measured length of the port. How much longer? 1/2 the port width. We'll add that 1/2 inch in and we're now at 35.75. So the port's actually a 1/2 inch too long, and really from a practical standpoint, that's not going to make much of a difference. If you wanted to make it a 1/4 inch shorter or a 1/2 inch shorter, sure, why not? I'm Justin, this is the DIY Audio Guy YouTube channel, and I will see you on the next adventure.